Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast covering Ipswich Town since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and you are tuned into our midweek live show talking all things Ipswich Town, where you guys set the agenda and girls. We're available weekly on podcast, audio and video. And joining me tonight, my buddy from the ITFC supporters Q&A on Monday night, Joe Fairs. Joe, how are you?
Very good.
Very good. We could talk about the Q&A bit. I mean, there's plenty of stuff going on this week. It's been quite a busy one. So we want to hear from everyone in the comments. Folk are getting in there already. That's great. And I love to see the chat kind of evolving as well, and everyone chatting to each other in the chat. That's good. We're here to talk about the Q&A, which we'll start with in a second. Col U, obviously last night's interesting points deduction for West Ham under 21s, which is interesting post-match outcome, which has made last night's result a little bit less interesting. New deal for Idris Ilmazuni till 2024, and Barrow in the cup at home if we beat Oldham next week. Let's start with that Q&A, Joe. Give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. We were sort of some of the lucky fans that were able to get down there sort of logistically and got tickets to it. So no, good to see the sort of whites of the eyes of the people that you're talking to and be in the same room as them, because I think you do get a bit more which you don't see on camera. Like when the questions are being asked, you can see the reactions of the guys who, when they're listening to the questions and parts of which they agree to, and bits like that. No, I thought it was good. I thought there were some good questions asked. There was a couple of random ones asked as well.
Bus parking, says Lee. Yeah,
some interesting ones. But I do think. I know people have mentioned about the pies questions, but stuff like that is important to ask. And if people want to ask it, like there was plenty of time for these questions, and they all got answered. Now, you sometimes need something a little bit lighter as opposed to sort of real heavy ones about how the club's being run and all that side of there. And I think what was good this time is that there weren't too many football questions asked, because I think sometimes people try and question the manager on things, and really I don't think it's particularly constructive when that happens in those forums, because
it's a bit awkward, doesn't it?
The manager's just able to talk him down, as they should do. They are the one that watches it there. But I do find sometimes we can get too focused on what's going on the pitch in those meetings, where really they are for what is going on in the club, in the community around it. And I thought it was really good on that side, and I do think the club is in safe hands at the moment.
It was reassuring, wasn't it? And obviously Ed Short's over from the ORG, the kind of the representation of the Arizona pension fund that is largely funding the Game Changer part of the ownership structure. And a really excellent question. I forget who it was. I think the guy who asked about the pies, actually, kind of about succession planning, which is obviously something that we don't really want to think about. And it's early days of the Game Changer era, so to start thinking about what's next is kind of feels a bit strange. But actually, it was a really relevant question, and elicited a really interesting answer about. And he was quite big on legacy, wasn't he, Ed? I thought you came across really well.
Yeah, and I do think that people may not want to hear it, but ultimately it's any businessman, and on the sort of size and scale that these guys are, they need an exit plan for businesses, because if you don't have one, then at some point you're going to get yourself into a big bit of trouble with it and end up potentially harming the asset when you try and dispose of it at that point. So it's like I say, this is an investment for them, isn't it? We all know that it's not a love of the club. They're not a local fan with millions of pounds that wants to help the community. They're doing it sort of for the brass tacks of it at the end of the day, and hopefully they make money on it, because if they make money, it means the
mutual interest.
It means we've done well, because the only way they're going to make money is if the club is a success. So hopefully that is the case.
Yeah. Well, we want to hear from all of you out there. We haven't had too many questions, lots of stuff in the Q&A about pies, buses and kiosks and so on. But we do want to hear from you. And so get your questions in and we'll do as many as we can. We're here for sort of 30 to 40 minutes. An early plug. Joe and I are whisking ourselves off to exactly the same place, but just changing the background to do a Football Manager 22 special. So if you've got any questions for that one, there's a tweet out there or at Ipswich if you want to ask any Football Manager 22 questions to Joe and head of EFL research, Dean Gripton. And that show will hopefully be out either tomorrow morning or maybe even this evening if we can get it out there. So worth looking out for there. G'day to Michael, as always, from Brisbane. And apart from the final ball / shot, thought we played some great football on Tuesday night. Joe, you were there.
Yeah, I think the game just felt quite flat to watch. I think
can I just show you something?
Crowd and...
Can I surprise you? Here's the attacking momentum graph. Does
yeah,
that chime with your experience?
It didn't feel like that at the time, but I sort of watched the highlights back today and thought we did actually have some good chances. It felt like too often we just held on for the ball for too long, didn't move it quick enough, and ended up things breaking down and going back. But I say maybe I wasn't really watching it properly. I was just sort of half going, and it just wasn't that exciting. It didn't seem, but you look at the chances. There were some good chances. They had a couple of nice breaks, but they were quite disciplined and organised side, and we struggled to really break them down well. But I think a draw was probably a fair result.
Well, you say that the stats. 63% possession for Ipswich, I guess not most important stats, but 19 shots, 7 on target, 4 blocked shots, 9 corners, 8 offsides though. And I guess a lot of the chat will be about the players that came in. Obviously, Joe Pigott, after Cook had mentioned him on the Q&A, he got some minutes. I'll just put the team up there. Joe, do you want to tell us about your thoughts on Joe Pigott?
I thought he struggled, to be honest. I thought he looked quite rusty when the ball did go to him. I think, and I don't want to dig out another player, but Louis Barry, I thought, was pretty poor behind him, and he just had no one near him, and he didn't hold the ball up well. He had a couple of chances, one of which weren't very close going in, the one that hit the bar. But I think we have to remember he's lost his father in recent weeks, and he's not been involved. He's not got any minutes under his belt, so hopefully things go from there. But no, I didn't think he was very good in it. But then, like I said, I didn't think he's very good, but I'm also not too worried about that in the long term, because I think that it will sort itself out as he gets more minutes under his belt. And I think maybe that was a point that Paul Cook made at the fans forum, actually, one that you don't ever feel like you can take Macaulay Bonne off, because he feels like he's still working hard. He's still got a chance to get you a goal, but really we need to start giving Pigott 15, 20 minutes at the end of games to try and get him into some sort of form as well. And if Cook doesn't want to go away from one up front, then that's the only real option, is to replace Bonne, isn't it, every now and again?
It's true. To Chris's question there, did anyone come out of last night with any credit? Good football. Can't agree we played good football, sorry. Pigott, Chaplin had stinkers. Simon suggested Bailey Clements a second half sub for Miles Kenlock. Your thoughts on Bailey Clements, Joe?
Yeah, I thought he did well, and sort of with Chris's question, I thought the ones coming out with credit, I thought Sonny Aluko played well, and I know there's a lot of talk of Scott Fraser in the middle of the pitch, but I didn't think he played that well. I thought he was a bit slow moving the ball around, but again, you look at the highlights, and he did have some decent passes, but I don't feel he was combative enough in the middle of the pitch, and we'll go from there. It just didn't seem a role that suited him, but we'll go from there. With Bailey Clements, it seems strange that Kenlock played just the first half, but then I think Cook mentioned after the game that Miles had been sick on Monday, and he declared himself fit but was being sick at half time, so that's why that change was made. But yeah, Clements did well. There's a couple of times when he maybe sort of passed the ball when he could have sort of put a decent cross in, and sort of, I don't know whether it's sort of nerves or you don't want to make the mistake, so you're happy to shirk the responsibility sometimes and just laying it back to Fraser for him to do something with, or Chaplin. But I thought he didn't give the ball away. He got up and supported the attack quite well and was able to defend as and when he needed to, which was quite infrequent.
Back to the questions, and we've got they're piling in now, which is great. So thank you for that. Also, thank you for the thumbs up, Simon, Stephen. We see you. Thank you for the thumbs. If you're watching on YouTube, do give us a thumbs up. Nudges us up the algorithms, and on Facebook as well, and on Twitter. Just we want to hear from you. Like stuff, retweet stuff if you want. That's fine. But we can see the likes from everyone else. But yeah, there's no fixed agenda. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll go there. I'll try and meander and navigate Joe back onto topics. Charlie D makes a really valid point, and I fear that he might be. This might be easier said than done. I'd like that to be the end of the Marcus Evans chat. I can think we have had 2 Q&As, Joe, we've been fortunate enough to attend. Both times Marcus Evans has come up, and this time, much more than last time, there was a kind of some disquiet would be the polite way of putting it in the room, which I don't know if that came across over the speakers. It's a bit kind of like Mick McCarthy. Do we not need to start, to Charlie's point, leaving these topics of conversation in the past?
Yeah, I thought the reaction, that was probably the only thing in the form that disappointed me. I think sometimes the reaction to Evans when sort of Mike O'Leary is up there sort of saying how Evans sort of helped them out. He still wants to be involved. He's kept hold of his box. He's put sort of 70 million into the club of his own money effectively. And it hasn't gone right. It's a shame. It's obviously a big shame for all us fans, a big shame for him. He never ran the club properly because he never sort of trusted anyone to do it. But I don't know. It just seemed a bit like with sort of the way he was treated or spoken about is almost like he's been a owner who's come in and tried to kill the club when sort of the opposite is true. He's tried to help the club and just hasn't known how to do it and hasn't done it well. But the only reason we're with Game Changer with no debt on the club is because of how he sort of treated the sale, and the fact he still wanted to keep a portion of the club and still wanted to keep his box here is sort of shows a sort of level of maturity and responsibility that he's shown in that. So I don't know. I think we've sort of come out of it in a good place. It might not have been the best thing for the club, but we never know. I think some people may forget sometimes what a state the club was in when he took over, because we were in a real bad position at that point, and sort of administration with no one there, and someone else might have come along, and you don't know whether they'd have been better or worse, but ultimately we are where we are now, and I think everyone's quite positive for the future.
Yes, let's look forward. Game changers, Lee said, want to make money, they will leave at some point. So the succession question was very relevant. I think we agree with that. EJ, can we end up playing Colchester again in the Pizza Cup? I don't think we can, because at some point it stops being regional, doesn't it? Which I think is the final.
I think we can do, just not in the next round. I think the next round.
Oh, sorry. Again, he said. I thought he meant in the final. Sorry, we can play them anywhere up to the semi-final. I would.
Yeah, not in the next round, because it's group winners against second place in the group, so we can't play them then. But I think after that, it's just an open draw.
Board the nod. I was wishing Piggott to do well. Looked out sorts. Hope he comes through it soon. I think we can.
I'm sure he will. He's got too much quality not to, hasn't he?
Mark, how are we feeling on Piggott? I think a lot of the chat so far is kind of giving you a sense of that. Hopefully, Mark, is the lack of sharpness a worry if anything happens to Bon? Obviously, Bon did get a Zimbabwe call up and then said no on health grounds. Can he play the Bon role is a question, and isn't Norwood better for that? It's an interesting thought, Joe. Whilst you're taking a sip there, I'll weave in Michael's comment, which is, do you think we'll go for a striker in January window, even if we keep /sign Bonfield? Norwood has missed his chance for whatever reason to be an important member of the squad. So your thoughts there on the covering for Bon, the role Piggott has, and whether there's another striker there if Norwood does indeed go in the January
realistically, you need 3 strikers, don't you? Because if Bon were to get injured and miss 6 weeks, you couldn't go with just Piggott with someone else backing him up, whether that be a Chaplin or a Selena who could play up front, or a Jackson maybe. But Norwood just, for whatever reason, hasn't taken the opportunities he's had at this football club, and I don't think there's a future for him here. So yeah, I think we will need to sign a third striker in January. Who that is, I don't know. But as I saw some people mentioning earlier about Tyree Simpson being recalled from loan, which I wouldn't suggest is the best thing to do. I think leaving him there is probably better where he's playing every week. But I don't know. I just seems there's not really been any comment from the club, but Norwood is just not there. And there's rumours on Twitter and Facebook that he's training with the under-23s. That does look to be the case from when you see when he's going into the club and when we know when the under-23s train. And again, sort of referring back to the fans forum, Mark Ashton said that the under-23s are training at different times to the first team. So they're not even with each other, and it does look like that is the case at the moment. But obviously, that's not being confirmed, so we'll see from there. But
that was me. I think doing bubbles, by the way. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I think we just need we will need another striker. I've seen I've heard a couple of names that we're linked with, but we'll see where they go.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be an interesting window. Just to I've missed.
And obviously, we have the. Is Bond going to sign on a permanent, or is QPR going to recall him or send him somewhere else? So I'd imagine we are working on first choice targets plus also third choice targets, if that makes sense. It's going to be a lot of work going on there.
Yeah, EJ's question, where is Norwood? I think we've dealt with that now. Do you think we'll get a left back in January? I guess the question is whether the extent of Vincent Young's injury, because he can play left back, or whether Bailey Clements, I think, qualifies as an under 21. Does he,
Yeah, I
Joe?
think he does. Yeah.
Whether he would be a viable option, or to EJ's point, whether we would do some shopping. Thoughts?
It just seems that, I know, like I say, I don't know whether it is, but it just seems that Hayden Coulson's move here is just destined to fail. Sort of from the very start, we waited around for him for ages. He then obviously then had COVID. He then took a while to come back. He then played a couple of games, went off injured, has come straight back in, played a game, started the next game, off injured again. It's just like, sometimes it just makes you think this isn't the right move for this club, and it's just not going to work here. It's just fate or luck or whatever, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to work out, that move from here. And also when you see how sort of Danasian's played on the right hand side, do we want a more defensive fullback who can attack as opposed to an attacking fullback who can defend, which I think is Coulson's side of it? I think we were caught out early on in the season with fullbacks being just far too attacking, and
Plymouth as well.
Maybe look something else. Like I say, Burgess did well there at Wickham, and I think maybe we'll see a bit more of him there against certain teams. Maybe Rotherham in a couple of weeks, he might play there again. But it does seem, like I say, we obviously recruited a lot in the summer, but you were never going to get everyone right. There's 19 signings. If you're going to have 4 or 5 of those which don't work out for one reason or another, and Coulson may be one, and the one reason or another maybe just because he can't get or stay fit. So I think there's a few areas of the squad where I think we just aren't quite there yet, and I think left back is definitely one of them.
Going back to the cup matches, obviously Marius's point here is definitely some stuff that I've heard. The Oldham game, we haven't really talked about that. The 1-1 draw on Saturday, which was quite disappointing. Needing penalties to defeat Col U with notionally more rotation on Tuesday night, less so on Saturday. These cup games have shown that we're nowhere, to his words, nowhere near the finished article. We should be dispatching teams like these inside 90 minutes. Your thoughts on that, Joe? I mean, I guess it's difficult after the kind of a massive win at Wickham, a massive, really important in a battle, to then take someone like Oldham seriously and then to take the Pizza Cup. Is it more psychological than systemic for you?
It felt like it on Saturday, but it's difficult because if we, like I say, we obviously had the brilliant result at Wickham, and then off the back of that, we've had 2 sort of disappointing home draws against League 2 teams. But we play Oxford on Saturday. If we beat Oxford on Saturday, no one gives a toss about the last 2 games. But if we don't beat Oxford on Saturday, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's now 3 games without a win. What has happened since Wickham? Have we not been able to keep that form going? So it is probably one of those situations where it's going to be judged on what happens next as opposed to how it's gone, because really the performances weren't good enough, and we should have won both of those games. We had good enough teams to do it there, but for whatever reason, Ipswich Town and cup games don't go.
No, that's true. Talking of Oxford, it's worth mentioning our show's coming up over the next few days. All the details, as usual, at our website, on our socials, which are, again, linked on our website, bluemonday.itfc.co.uk. Friday night, 8 p.m, Craig and I are back for the pre-match show, going head-to-head with another round of Football Room 101. It's easy enough for me to say, but also giving you all the info you need for the Oxford matches Joe's talked about. Going to be a really tricky game there, and that's in association with our friends at the Greyhounds, ultimate pre-match venue. So I'm sure a few of us will be there on Saturday as well, so do head down there. As always, the Flagship show back on Monday morning, and I think I might be getting the hat-trick ball this show, pre-match show, and I think I'm doing the Flagship show. So if you're not a fan of mine, this is not a good week for you, but don't worry, I'll try and get a week off next week, and then it will be back to Mikey and Ben and others. So, but yeah, usual shows at the usual times: Friday 8 p.m. pre-match, Monday morning for the Flagship, and as we said already, Football Manager 22, our special show marking the release of that game, will be out Thursday morning at the latest. Let's get back into the questions. Lots of endorsements on your perspective on Marcus Evans there. So good stuff on that, Joe. HCH, question from me. What skills will you be offering to the club, Rich?
Rich will be the new match day host.
I want to, there's all kinds of stuff that I want to do, HCH. I can actually, joking aside, I can actually paint as well. I've been redecorating the house here, so I can actually hold a paintbrush. I think my point was there are lots of different skills, even business skills, and the club can't recruit hundreds of people to do stuff. And so I think that was my point: is I can broom and I can help out with painting and decorating, but maybe it's just administrative stuff. Maybe it's digital media stuff. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of skills out there, and if you missed Mark Ashton's, it's like Mark, we're on first name terms. Me and Mark were chatting about it at the Q&A. About an hour and 7 minutes, and if you want to listen to that, his answer to that. But he basically did a call out: if you want to get involved in any aspect of club operations, then get in touch with the club. There's a contact details on the website and all that kind of stuff. So I'll pass that message on his behalf. Maybe we'll hear that from him on the podcast here one day in the future. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Where else are we? Yeah, from Andrew. From the comments in the fans forum, do you expect whole stands to be replaced? And if so, what order would you do it? Is there any stand you'd keep to maintain the history? Joe, I want to be honest. I'd be tempted to knock it all down, but that's not going to happen, is it?
No, definitely not.
Flip it around a little bit. He said, initially his point, he's saying that the stadium backs onto the town, or has its back to the town, because the main entrance is round the back end of the stadium, isn't it? I do wonder whether they'll think about flipping it around.
The only point that I was thinking about is that, and I think it did come up later in the fans forum, but I missed it a little bit with regards to sort of Portman Road being closed at the moment. Obviously, it's closed it's only open to cycle lanes at the moment, and it's like, is that at some point a point where you could just totally shut that road forever, effectively, where the ground is, and build the Cobbold, because the Cobbold stand is the problem stand, really, isn't it? The rest of it is obviously the Pioneer stands need some updating, but it's got some really what new stands are for is to put decent corporate facilities into grounds, and the Pioneer stand has got decent corporate facilities in the middle tier there. So could at some point you shut off Portman Road totally and build is it the Cobbold stand at the moment? I always forget what they're called, but build the Cobbold stand back into that one, which then does open up where he was saying it's got the back to the town. That would be a real front to the town. You could put a big stand there. If you could get any of that land in the car park, you could have sort of retail out there, bars, restaurants, and sort of, because there was always a Ipswich City or Ipswich Village thing spoken about, like a hotel on there. But that's what if you could get it. There's not really anything there other than around the ground, other than the bus station. There's not anything there. If you could get to those car parks and sort of come round sort of onto the Alderman Road Wreck as well, and the bus, there's a lot of space there to actually work with, and I think it would be a boon for Ipswich as a town to have that there. But it's just a case of where. But like I say, if you could just build that Portman stand, the Cobbold stand, back into the road effectively, close the road off for good, and just have that as there, I think that would work.
Yeah, the reason for knock it all down was my quote. The reason for saying that, I've no issue with the Green King stand, actually, or whatever it is now, the Sir Ralph Ramsey stand, isn't it? So Bobby Robson stand, my issue with that is the two tiers and the acoustics is just appalling, and I don't think there's no easy way to fix that, to me. And having a single tier cop rip-off, to me, would be excellent for that, and that's why even the Sir Bobby Robson stand, to me, would benefit from a remodeling. But this is kind of pie in the sky whilst we're in League One, isn't it? And even mentioned the Cobbold stand being long beyond its lifespan. It sounds like at least there's a strategy there, and it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over the next few years. And Mike O'Leary talking about punching a hole to get articulated lorries through and cherry pickers and stuff. So it could be an exciting few years on that front. We're here for another 10, 15 minutes or so. So let's plow through these as quickly as we can, Joe. ADB, another shoulder injury for KVY, question mark. Shoulders sometimes are never the same after injury. Another right back in January, question mark, we hope.
Yeah, but he'd had, because often when you've got a weak shoulder, it does just go and go, doesn't it? But he did have the operation on it over the summer, which you'd hope would stop it from going as quickly. But he was definitely going off holding his shoulder. I think Craig got a picture of that, which he put in the group chat that we saw, and it was definitely a shoulder injury. So hopefully he went off as a precaution. But generally, I'd expect it to be, with Kane, it always seems to be worse than what you hope it is. And if it is something that he's going to miss some serious time, I think, you do maybe have to look at another right back. But then, like the guy's saying, it's a waste playing Burns at right back. But then if you've got a Luco playing so well on the right, and we do have options there, if it's a way of getting them in the
It's not the
team, then
worst,
maybe you
is
have
it?
to go with it.
It's not your defensive right back but we're forgetting that Dinassian is here as well, though, aren't we? He's
Yeah.
made that berth his own, really, hasn't he? Let's chat about Norwood's in there. I think if it's okay with everyone, I'm going to kind of avoid more chat on Norwood and speculating around that, if that's okay. So we will move on from that, if that's okay. Paul Strutt, a long old one here. I need to peek over the top of it. Really enjoyed Monday's discussion with Ashton making reference to a lot of stadium concerns. Is it time to think of a possible move? There we go. The atomic option, move away from Portman Road and new stadium. Given the current situation renting from Suffolk County Council, I'm open to this. Thoughts, please. Keep up the good work. Come on, you Blues. Yeah, that is an interesting one, Joe. I'm gonna. Yeah, there we go.
I just don't. I don't see the need to move away from Portman Road. In that, I think there should be a good symbiotic relationship between the club and the council. And realistically, Portman Road, it does need some work doing to it. But how? Like, we don't normally get new ground because you own the land to sell to sort of give you some money to start. But we'd have to find some land, build it, and realistically, where's it going to be? Because I don't think you're going to get a better location than Portman Road for a number of reasons. And
train station for one as well, isn't it?
Like I
Away
say,
support
it's right by the train station, and that is so key. And if really what they need to do is they need to have more going on at the ground in the week. So you need to be able to build some facilities in there so you can hire it out for conferences, sort of parties,
even
comedy
they had
nights.
artificial grass. Do they still have pitches down there, or have they turned that into a kids' play area? They used to have pitches down there. You could have a foot, like the five-a-side thing, like goals or whatever it is. And there's one down by the university and stuff like that. You could make it into a sports park and stuff like that. Healthy living, and
I think there's loads you could do. I just don't see that. I don't see moving out of the town because it would have to be out of the town.
That'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
Would be good because realistically, where's it going to be? Cop Dock is probably the place, but then where? I say I'm sure there's land there, but I just don't. I don't think it. I think there's not enough benefit from moving out of the town for me. But I'm sure other people can see that. But if you could totally rebuild that Cobbold stand, put some modern facilities in there, increase the capacity maybe 3,000 or 4,000, and put a load more corporate entertainment in there, which is, like I say, what a lot of stadiums do now. I don't think we'd ever outgrow that stadium. And I think if you could work on the area around the ground, its location being so close to the train station is just such a massive win that it's hard to beat that. And it's not particularly far off the main road, sort of down Hadley Road into the football ground. So it's not a mess to get to, like some grounds are in town centres where they're just impossible to. It's only sort of 10-15 minutes off the main roads, isn't it, as well?
The thought that comes to mind, Adie's point here, never need more than 35 to 40k capacity. I think that's probably fair, at least until you sustain success. Kind of that's why Leicester are looking at that kind of stuff at the moment now, aren't they? But I think he's right there. 35, even 30k for the last 20 odd years has been, very rarely have we got to those levels, have we? The thought that comes to my mind, what I'm seeing in my mind, is actually rotating the pitch 90 degrees and building out towards the bus station for one end and towards the car park to the other end, and rotate everything 90 degrees. And that's obviously an atomic option as well. But I think you're right, staying where that location serves lots of good purposes and just could be exploited much better by the club. But as you say, the town there. I'm reading David's comment here. I need to reread this. Can we not move the ground just off the A12 with no public transport? Terrible parking with locking cars in at 9 p.m. Yeah, I guess that's an advocating for what we're kind of talking about there, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah.
Back to the chat. Saw Mark saw an interesting point about Burgess that Accrington, he was defending considerably deeper. So when he has to defend a bit further up the pitch, he isn't the same player and not as good. Interesting thought that, Joe.
Also, he was playing in the back three at Accrington as well, so that obviously makes a difference as well. You've got a little bit more help. You're playing a bit wider as well, so it's a strange one really. And I thought he struggled against Freddie Sears last night. I thought Sears gave him a bit of a torrid time at times with his movement, and he's probably been for what we've paid for him, sort of 750,000. He doesn't seem to be a big enough step up on sort of Ntiala even. So I know it's a strange one.
Yeah, okay. Who's that? Colchester number 11. He looks really good. We should sign him. Anyway, moving on. HDH, West Ham under 20 on dot, 3 points for fielding and ineligible players. So Town won the group, Col U through 2. Looking forward to now a home match in round 2, Joe. I think Sunday, there might be a sense that Wembley is possible, and I think the crowds might build a little bit. No,
no. I'm pleased to have a home tie. You'd much rather have that than not have it. For me, it just seems it gives you an advantage. Doesn't it? I don't know what there's sort of 16 groups was there, so we're in. I think there's still effectively 16 teams in the south section, so you've got 4 more ties before you get to Wembley, so it seems a long way off. But ultimately, by the time we play our next game in this competition, we might be having an injury crisis and having a tough run in the league, and you just say, just chuck the kids in it because we don't care if we lose. So hopefully we can put a team out sort of a similar strength to what we did last night in the next round. But if we did, who cares?
No, and overly scary as well in our half of the draw. Seems a few under 21s still left in there, but yeah. And EJ, any of us going to the FA Cup? I think Seb's going to Oldham next Tuesday.
I'd assume Seb would, but I don't think anyone else is.
A little bit tough for us. Now I would go if I was living in the Midlands because I'm halfway there, but not anymore. And Barrow, Joe, you'll be there anyway, but I think even I might go to Barrow. I'm interested by that game. So so hopefully there's a bit of momentum. That's what we want. Crowds in and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, Sarah.
That's what we want. Cup win. That would really help. Michael, could we spend a bit of money on a couple more cameras for the iFollow? That was a good question that that didn't come up, did it? The iFollow quality.
No,
I guess too many locals in there. We didn't ask that one for you, Michael, but it's right. It is. Seb put that in room 101. I don't know how
Portsmouth
that got on.
have sort of a few cameras, don't they? They have a nice setup. A lot of clubs have an in-house broadcast that goes around their games. Like I think Charlton do. They have an in-house broadcast, but.
Marius, moving the stadium doesn't always work. Just ask Col U fans. Stadium is miles better than Ayers Road, but it's got the atmosphere of a morgue, and it's an absolute pain in the arse to go to.
But the problem is, Colchester did have to move, didn't they? They didn't have to, but the Layer Road was falling down, really, wasn't it? And there was no way they could redevelop it where it was. So we're in a fortunate position where I think we can redevelop our ground where it is. So we don't need to take the nuclear option.
Lots of chat about attendances. HCH 8K for a Peter Cup was decent turnout, I thought. About the same as the FA Cup. Gary, at the moment, we'd struggle to get 22,000 present, other than if we make the playoffs.
We'll see what the pack out PR.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, the pack out PR on the Ferodo Bridge. So I'm sure we'll see more and more coming out. I
wonder if it'll be anything like the Sunderland Till I Die, where they wanted to get that record attendance, didn't they?
Yes, and get Charlie Methven on the pitch to announce it. Yep, that's what we want. So keep your eyes peeled for offers there, possibly half-season tickets, but maybe Christmas offers and all that kind of fun stuff. So we'll obviously retweet that and make sure folk know what's going on there. Lee, good show from Selena, staying with us as opposed to playing with Kosovo, Joe.
I assume Kosovo have only got dead rubbers to play, so that's why he's not gone. But I don't know. But if you think last time he went away, he went away. Connor Chaplin came in, did really well, and it's taken him till the next international break to get his place back in the team. He doesn't want to go away and lose his place for 4 games and struggle to get back in the team when he's sort of scored twice in the last game against Wickham, and he'll be desperate to stay in the team. So it's just a case. Any game that leaves us with a better squad to choose from is fine by me. So it's good news.
Friendly and a dead rubber for Kosovo, says HCH.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We'll go for a couple more minutes. So last minute questions. Anyone want a hello or a shout out? We'll do that. Any predictions for Oxford as well? We will do those.
Let's question about Peter Reid as well.
I was about to put it up. There you go.
Yeah.
Tell us about Peter Reid, Joe. Andrew's question, has he changed anything yet?
I'm sort of assuming that everyone here didn't see the fans forum, so I'm probably repeating bits which a lot of people have seen. But
do the accent, Joe. Do the accent.
I can't do it. I've got a bit of a sore throat, so I could have that side of it, but not there. But Cook basically said that Peter Reid sits up in the stands, watches the game, and comes down into the dressing room at half time and gives him a different perspective on it. And it was something mentioned on this pod as well, and also on Radio Suffolk, that basically Mick Mills said he used to do this for Trevor Francis, and he'd watch the game from up there and come down, and sometimes Trevor Francis would say to him, "You take the team talk. You've had a better view of the game to me. You just tell the guys what you want to say." And if Reid and Cook could have that sort of relationship where they trust each other like that, then it all helps, because Peter Reid's a vastly experienced football manager, sort of obviously got a good eye for things, and if it's someone Cook trusts and respects, and then yeah, all good. And our form has improved since Peter Reid has come in the building. Whether that's coincidence or not, I don't know, or whether it was going that way, we don't know. But it certainly can't hurt having him here.
Yeah, he was very positive about Reid's influence, wasn't he? Monty, apologies, it hasn't been asked. Clements benefit from a League Two loan next season. I guess Joe's got a 1-year deal with an option, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'd say if we could get him out on loan, playing some league football, then it'd be great. But it's sort of getting to an age where he desperately needs it. He's had a couple of loans in the past which haven't gone very well, so we'll see. Sort of gone out and then ended up not playing. So it's a shame there, because like I say, loans are very, very difficult to get right, and we've done very well with Simpsons and Indaba's loans this season, where they've both played a lot of football already. I know Indaba's currently injured, but it's difficult.
I'd like to see him get a chance here. A local boy as well. We all always love that, don't we? So yeah, let's see what happens with Bailey. But the Cup's really good opportunity for him. We're starting to get some predictions coming in. Oxford 1-1 draw for Lee. Is that a win against Oldham, Lee, or is that a defeat 2-0? We'll need to find out from Lee. Charlie Meffam was a wonderfully unintended football version of David Brent. He did make that second series of Sunderland Till I Die, didn't he? Gary, Reid and Cookie duo worked at Wigan. David Sanderson, Danish TV are showing the game. There you go. Ipswich v Oxford on Danish TV.
That means there'll be some streams kicking about for, for people who can't go to the game.
Lee, yeah, do it legally. That's what we say. Lee Renshaw, yes, a win. Final question. If anyone wants any final shout outs or anything like that, any more predictions, get them in the chat. This is our final question, though. HCH Ashton said we'd shuffle the pack in January. How many out in that case, Joe?
Well, I think you can look at who's there, and I think Norwood will likely go. I think Jackson will go if he can. Kenlock, John Nolan obviously hasn't been fit at all. Is he someone you'd look to move on? You could even say Luke Wolfenden. Really, he seems quite a way off it, and I don't know. I still don't think the centre back balance is right, especially now George Edmondson's playing on the left and looking good there. It sort of doesn't really leave room for Cameron Burgess. Toto's doing fine and doing a job there, but ultimately for where the club wants to be, I think you want better than Toto. You want a player that can step up to the Championship there. That deal might not be possible to do in January, but we'll see. But hopefully one of those centre halves can just grab that opportunity with both hands and kick on from there. And like I say, Toto's shown the best in that regard so far.
And we think, I know there'll be other exits as well. The two strikers, Jackson and Norwood. It feels like they'll be gone as well, won't they? Or who knows? But it just feels like there will be exits. Although Ashton did suggest there will be strengthening as well, didn't there? So we will be speculating about that for a few weeks to come, I'm sure, and then all fun and games in January. Just to close things out, Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk is where you can find us. Thanks for the thumbs up on Facebook. Paul as well. Thank you for there's a love heart on Facebook as well. We love you back. Thank you for that. If you want to give us a thumbs up on Facebook, we'd appreciate that. Thumbs up on YouTube. Also, all the details, all of our shows, all our socials, how you can support if you want to do that as well. Very grateful for anyone who wants to support with a financial donation. Only helps improve what we do here. Thank you for those so far. Your names are in the credits, by the way, so stick around for those. But otherwise, head to Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk. Final thoughts here. Some more predictions coming in. Charlie D going for a sneaky 1-0. A 1-goal win for EJ as well, 2-1 there. Michael, we are at home to Oxford, so have to win if we want to go up. No pressure. Exactly right. Steve is going for a 3-1. Very positive here. David, come on, you Blues. Football is back. We are entertained. Thanks, Charlie, for joining us. Thank you to Mark as well. Appreciate that. Bod, agree with Michael. Oxford game massive. Michael, great show again. Sunny day in Brisbane, 26 degrees at 5:30. Climate change, AM, I should add. And Mark, thank you for joining us as well. Thank you, everyone, for your questions, your comments, your observations, for driving the agenda. And we'll be back as usual on Friday and on Monday for the flagship. And look out for our FM22 show. Joe, as always, I will let you have the final say.
Thanks, everyone, for all your questions and comments tonight. It's really appreciate it and makes the show what it is.